Hello and welcome to another edition of IMOBastani with me, Aaron Bastani, at Aaron Bastani on Twitter. You can comment on, like, share this video under the hashtag IMOBastani. If you want to make a financial contribution or ongoing commitment to Novara Media, check out our fundraiser. It's for the next 30 days. It starts on October the 2nd, hashtag Novara 10K. So go to support.novaramedia.com and either make a one-off donation or an ongoing subscription. This week I want to talk about who else? My boy Jeremy Corbyn. Jacob's done, I think, two big favours for the British public. The first is, undeniably, that he's brought socialism and social democracy and all the arguments in their ambit back into the centre of British politics. They're on the menu. They're up for discussion. We can talk about them again. Austerity, housing, pay. The second big favour he's done for us, and this is huge, is that he's shown just how stupid, how contemptible, how corrupt, how idiotic, how muppetish the British mainstream media is. Now, I don't just mean political editors and journalists. I don't just mean Nick Robinson, Allegra Stratton, Laura Coombs, but because, look, let's be honest, most Brits have never heard of these people. But then you look at people like Alan Sugar, Lord Sugar, and Eamonn Holmes. These are household names, right? And actually, these two people, Holmes and Sugar, took aim at Corbyn in the last week, and I think they really represent a big chunk of the media in Britain, beyond just political journalism. Many of you will know about Lord Sugar, Alan Sugar, from The Apprentice, the TV show where he goes, "You're fired." Yeah, you'll know him from that. He actually used to be in business. He started a company called Amstrad. He used to sell computers. He refused to sell Microsoft products in Europe, probably the biggest business mistake of his life. He threw away tens of billions. We won't go into that. You know him from being a celebrity on the television. He used to be an industrialist, apparently. He was also a big-name Labour Party donor. He was a Labour Party peer. He did some stuff around business and enterprise towards the end of the 2010s. Big fan of Blair and Brown. He went on record yesterday, I'm speaking on Friday, he went on record on Thursday to criticise Jeremy Corbyn and Sadiq Khan. And he said they were both bad for Britain and bad for London because they're bad for business. I'm going to quote Sir Alan now. "If they ever got anywhere near electing him and him being the Prime Minister, then I think we should all move to China or somewhere like that and let this place just rot." Who is this we that Sir Alan is talking about? Does he mean blokes who should have a shave and whose gobs are too big and who, quite frankly, should, yes, piss off? Does he mean people that are given a massive platform in the mainstream media or on the television who have no discernible talent or charm? Well, if he does mean that, then fantastic. Yes, you should go. Why does he want to go to China? I mean, if he's got a problem with Corbyn for being a socialist, okay, fine, great. Now you want to move to a country which is governed by a communist party, the biggest communist party in the world. It doesn't make any sense. I just want to be clear. Now, obviously, China isn't a communist state. It's the worst of both worlds. It's a state capitalist state. So they don't have free trade unions, for instance. They have a centralized party apparatus which basically imposes the worst excessive free market capitalism onto its people. So I'm not saying China's like a communist state. Obviously, it still has wage labour and exchange value, etc. We won't go into the technicalities of communism. It's clearly a market economy. Yeah, it's going to have a GDP bigger than the US and the EU combined by 2030. It's fair to say it's a high-performance capitalist economy. Anyway, what does Sir Alan see in China? I mean, is it the fantastic air quality in Beijing, you know? Is it the cultural expression and freedom of speech and freedom of association in Guangzhou and Shanghai? I mean, obviously not, right? I mean, this is a country with a pretty bad record on human rights. It's imposing, arguably, genocide in places with ethnic minorities like Xinjiang, Muslim population, and Tibet. And Sugar wants to go there. And, you know, the funny thing is, China's having big problems right now. And when China sees its economic growth go to about 3%, not that this is a great indicator, right, because half these stats are made up by the Chinese Communist Party, but once China's growth goes to 3 or 4%, they're going to have big problems with job creation. You know, they've got to create a lot of jobs in China. 1.2 million people every month move from country to city. They've got to create a lot of jobs. They need growth. And when that stops, China's actually a pretty volatile country, and I don't think it's politically very stable. Actually, if you look at industrial unrest and increases in wages since 2000, it's pretty obvious that China's on the path to something pretty interesting, right? Either there's going to be reform, it's going to have to move to a more democratic, open society, free trade unions, or something pretty bad is going to happen. Hopefully, if he goes over there, there's some kind of workers' uprising or whatever, and then he wants to come back, you know, we can say, actually, you know what, Sir Alan, come back, but you got to pay 100% estate tax. Or come back, but you got to give us 95% of your money. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Because this loudmouth schmuck thinks he's so special. He said, I'm gonna leave Britain and it's gonna rot. Why? Because you're not hosting The Apprentice? Britain's got nurses, cleaners, carers, doctors, engineers, teachers. You know, what? So you're not gonna be on the television, on BBC once a week, and you're fired. What planet are you on? What, you think you're integral to like a high functioning economy? You're superfluous, you're an idiot. Go, sling your hook. But the point is this, people like Sugar, okay, he's made a lot of money. I'm sure there's a bit of intelligence there once upon a time, it's long gone now, bit of luck. Graft, he's obviously a hard worker, he looks knackered, he hasn't slept properly in probably 20, 30 years. He's made a lot of money, he's done very well, but the point is, Sir Alan, Lord Sugar, whatever your name is, you wouldn't have done that were it not for infrastructure spending, were it not for the education, the human capital of the British public. That was paid for by the taxpayer through general taxation. It was paid for actually through a post-war social democratic compromise. So if you're not willing to help reproduce that, if you're not willing to contribute towards that infrastructure which allowed you to be personally wealthy, guess what? You're the scrounger. Now you're in for a real treat because I don't just want to talk about one idiot today, I want to talk about two. I want to talk about Eamonn Holmes. Holmes did this unbelievable interview with Corbyn, he was wearing a black suit, white shirt, pink tie. He looked like a recruitment consultant or a estate agent from the late 90s. And it was a 10-minute long interview with Corbyn, and Holmes kept on talking about football, And it was probably the worst piece of political interviewing I've ever seen. It was car crash television. What made it particularly funny was that Holmes came out of it saying he'd made mincemeat of Corbyn. You're drinking too much Jameson's, Eamonn, you really should cut down at work. He told Jeremy Corbyn, poor sod, look, let's talk football. Your man's Arsene Wenger, my man's Alex Ferguson. Do you think they go into the dressing room and say, look boys, how are we going to line up tonight? What are we doing? No, they don't. Fergie always said he had to make it clear there was one boss. That's not your way of doing things though, is it? Now, Jeremy Corbyn's a pretty smart guy, but it doesn't take a genius to work out that football isn't politics. That is to say that the optimal way of running society, distributing goods, opportunities, isn't the same as getting 11 guys to kick a ball about and put it in the back of a net. I love football. That's not to diminish its value, its beauty, but it's not politics, Eamonn. Eamonn, I'm going to put it really politely. Stop drinking Jameson's at work, throw out the pink tie, pick up a book. I'm begging you. You want to come on Novara? We'll give you a reading list. I'd love to help educate you. Why is the British mainstream media, not just political journalists, but people like Sugar and Holmes, who I think are actually, they're big characters clearly in the British media landscape, why are they reacting like this? Well, the first one is, when it comes to political journalists, they're angry because in their phone, right, they'd get out their iPhone and they'd have all the numbers. And with Corbyn's people, they don't have that anymore. They don't have the networks they've been assiduously cultivating for years. That went out the window with Corbyn's win. All of a sudden, the leader of the opposition, the shadow cabinet, aren't going to return their calls. They're not going to go and have dinner with them or have a drink with them at the Athenaeum. We're seeing the synthesis of two big things now. The first is we've got these new technologies, new communication technologies like Twitter, Facebook, which allows very, very quick feedback. We've had those for like 5-10 years, right? That's now intersecting with a massively politicised public. And that's not just Corbyn, right? That's also UKIP, Green Party, SNP. That's only going to increase in the run-up to the referendum on British membership of the EU, I think. So really politicised British public, a means of communication which means they can learn a lot very quickly but also challenge opinion makers, means that people like Sugar and Holmes are going to look, frankly, ridiculous over the next coming years. So what do you think? You know what I think? These big names in British public life, people like Eamonn Holmes, Alan Sugar, in the last week, in the last fortnight, have shown themselves to be as stupid and hopefully as irrelevant as political journalists have over the course of the last several months. Why don't you put those thoughts down on the hashtag IMOBastani. Reach out to me at IMOBastani or Novara Media at Novara Media. If you found this video informative, dare I say entertaining, you can always support Novara Media's content by going to support.novaramedia.com. Over October, over the next 30 days, we're looking to raise £10,000. You can check out more about that fundraiser under the hashtag Novara10K.